That evening, Kim arrived home with her bags. Before she could go to her room, her father stopped her, telling her that she was not to leave the house and that her every move would be reported to him. He informed her that he had hired expert security guards to monitor her at all times. Calling in another guard, he instructed him to put a tracking bracelet on Kim's wrist. Once it was secured, he told her that it was not easy to remove and that he would be watching her every move. With that, he allowed her to go to her room. Without saying anything, Kim carried her suitcase to her room, sat on the bed, and looked at the tracking bracelet on her wrist. She thought about how she had brought this upon herself and how it was the ultimate sacrifice she had to make to avoid getting caught. Lying on her bed, she picked up her phone and came across the news that Sunjin's traditional wedding was scheduled for the following day. Her heart sank. Frustrated, she threw her phone to the floor, realizing that she would be locked in the house on such an important day, her movements restricted. Meanwhile, Woobin stood in his bathroom, fixing his hair as he looked at himself in the mirror. He adjusted his t-shirt, sprayed on some cologne, and smiled at the thought of finally seeing Minsu again after what felt like years. There was so much he wanted to talk to her about, especially since she would officially be off the market the following day. After ensuring he looked good, he stepped out. As he opened the door, he found Yuna standing there, holding a paper bag. She smiled and told him she had brought food, thinking they could stay in and watch a movie together. Noticing his outfit, she complimented him and asked if he was heading out. Woobin told her she had come at the wrong time. He was going to meet Minsu. Disappointed, Yuna stood there in silence. Woobin looked at her and assured her that they could do it another time. He suggested that she use the evening to prepare for her brother's wedding the next day. Stubbornly, Yuna insisted that she would wait and, making her way to the living room, turned to tell him that the weather forecast mentioned the possibility of snow. She advised him to take something warm. Woobin smiled and brushed off the warning, claiming he was tough and that it was too bright outside for it to snow. With that, he walked out. Yuna stood in the living room looking at the food she had brought. Sitting down in disappointment, she muttered about how lucky Minsu was to have so many men chasing after her. She wished she were in her place. Grabbing some juice, she decided she would watch a movie alone and wait for Woobin to return. As Minsu got ready to leave, Sunjin held her hands and asked what time she would be back. She assured him she wouldn't be long since their big day was tomorrow. She just wanted to catch up with Woobin for a bit, as she had promised him long ago. Sunjin pulled her into his arms, telling her that she wasn't even gone yet, but he already missed her. Minsu smiled, looked at him, and kissed him, telling him she loved him. She promised to be back just in time so they could spend their last night together as boyfriend and girlfriend. Sunjin smiled and told her he would wait. She gave him one last hug before walking out. Woobin waited by the lake where he had asked Minsu to meet him. He reassured himself that they were just going to catch up as friends. He would congratulate her, have some food, and then they would go home. That was it. Glancing at the time, he realized it was getting late. Just as he was about to send her a text to ask if she was still coming, he saw her walking toward him. For a moment, he froze. It felt as if he were seeing her for the first time. He had convinced himself that whatever feelings he once had for her were gone, and that he was ready to move on. But the moment he saw her, every emotion came rushing back.